A very good evening. My name is Beatrice Njeri. Our sign language interpreter is Paul Mathenge, and this is GBS News at 9, coming to you live from Kenya's capital, Nairobi. We have a lot lined up for you tonight, but first, here are the highlights. Schools resumptions assessments put 7 counties as high-risk areas as Machogu tours flood-affected areas.
In solidarity with his families and the community of Waimahiu and the people of Naivasha and the greater Nakuru County.
Waimahiu floods victims remembered in a memorial service presided over by Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua.
We move away from artisanal fishing.
Government announces 2.9 billion Kenya shillings to boost the fishing sector.
Here is your opportunity to design a future one of all of you and all the visions.
President Ruto launches South Sudan mediation talks at State House, Nairobi. To begin our bulletin, Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu revealed that some schools in Tana River, Homa Bay and Kisumu counties may not reopen on Monday as directed. Speaking on Thursday during an inspection exercise in Nairobi conducted in preparation for schools reopening, Machogu noted some of the areas where schools may not be opened alongside others. Here is more on the same. Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu has expressed deep concern that certain schools in Tana River, Homa Bay and Kisumu counties may not be able to reopen as scheduled on Monday. Addressing the media during an inspection exercise in Nairobi, he highlighted the persistent flood-related challenges in these areas, emphasizing the necessity for extensive repairs before resuming educational activities.
The reports we had yesterday, the specific schools which are badly affected, such that they cannot be able to open, is about 2%, because we have the specific names of those schools, and those are the schools that we are trying to come up with ways and means on how we can be able to extend running to the particular students and the pupils who are affected.
While the exact duration of the extension remains unspecified, Machogu assured that measures would be taken to minimize disruptions to the academic calendar. He noted that the national examinations will go on as scheduled.
So we might minimize the number of days that schools will be closed down in the month of August, so that whatever was supposed to be covered in the syllabus and the curriculum can be recovered during that particular time.
The reopening comes barely a week after the president announced the suspension of school reopening because of floods until further notice. The government is monitoring the current conditions to ensure the safe and scheduled reopening of schools next week. The initiative is spearheaded by the National Government Administration officers alongside regional and county directors of education. Schools are set to resume on Monday, May 13, following forecast indicating a decrease in rain intensity. Interior Principal Secretary Raymond Omolo on Thursday said students, especially those in boarding schools, will begin their return between Friday and Monday. Omolo was speaking at the Masinde Muliro Stadium in Bungoma County after inspecting the progress of preparations for the upcoming Madaraka Day celebrations to be held on June. He further noted that in Nairobi County, where many families were displaced by floods, affected schools are undergoing necessary repairs. The Principal Secretary highlighted that a total of 21 counties have been severely impacted, with nearly 2,000 schools affected. He said a section of the schools in 7 counties, among them Tana River, Homa Bay and Kisumu, may not reopen on Monday. He said his ministry will explore other learning options, such as relocation of learners to safer centers.
Schools that are affected, we are talking of 1,957 schools, just slightly below 2,000 schools. And we have put in place enough mechanisms to allow our students to resume their learning.
Day 2 of Agriculture Cabinet Secretary impeachment hearing of the motion that was submitted by Jack Wamboka at County Hall, Nairobi, has elapsed today, with Linturi defending himself from the allegations raised against him for his impeachment motion, saying that his impeachment based on negative media publicity and personal fights from his enemies. Davis Karani has more on the same.
Day 2 of Linturi's impeachment motion hearing has come to its end, as Linturi did his submission to the 11-member committee that was formed by the National Assembly to come up with the findings over the motion. Linturi has rejected all the accusations submitted against him, and this included providing a controversial information to the National Assembly, gross violation of the office, the breaching of the Leadership and Integrity Act, breach of the Fertilizer and Animal Foodstuff Act, among other charges.
Tafadhali ndugu zangu, tuwakilishe Wakenya. Wakenya wameumia na wanaendelea kuumia. But a minister can give 4 different versions of the same story. It is a disaster.
On his defense, Linturi assured the committee of his innocence, stating that he has always served the public with a lot of integrity, citing his clean records when he served the public as governor for Meru County. The CS went ahead and said that he is a victim of an organized mal-campaign by the media and other financiers whom he opted not to mention.
What do you say of the fact that even when the matter is before this committee and parliament, the leading media house in the country is publishing fake news about you? It's part of the scheme.
If the committee finds out that the Agriculture CS Mithika Linturi is guilty, it will submit the report to the National Assembly with its recommendations, and the National Assembly will now take an initiative of impeaching the CS. The impeachment of the CS will mean that he will never be allowed to hold any public office as stated in the Kenyan Constitution under leadership and integrity. Davis Karani, GBS News, Nairobi.
President William Ruto has urged Africa to work towards securing affordable, quality and accessible fertilizers through local manufacturing. Ruto was presiding over the Africa Fertilizer and Soil Health Summit at the Kenyatta International Convention Center, Nairobi, on Thursday. The summit is an African Union meeting which brings together the African heads of state and government, ministers responsible for foreign affairs and agriculture, high-ranking government officials, senior policy makers and private sector players. Other participants will include representatives of farmer organizations and development agencies, including NGOs, scholars and scientists, and representatives of leading donor organizations. The objective of the summit is to highlight the crucial role of fertilizer and soil health in stimulating pro-poor productivity, growth in African agriculture, and to agree on an African fertilizer and soil health action plan, as well as the Soils Initiative for Africa.
Norway has enjoyed close cooperation with the AUC as the chair of the Donors Partners Coordination Group, together with the alternate chair, United States. During this conference, we, the Development Partners Coordination Group, reconfirm our strong support for the Africa Fertilizer and Soil Health Agenda. Soil health lies at the heart of agriculture and food systems sustainability, at the heart of economic growth, environment and climate resilience, and ultimately, it is at the heart of food security and food sovereignty.
It is imperative to embrace sustainable agricultural practices that prioritize soil health, biodiversity, and long-term sustainability to secure a healthy and productive food system for future generations. Eswatini, like many nations globally, has historically promoted the use of synthetic fertilizers due to their cost effectiveness and efficacy, which contributed to improvements in agricultural productivity. However, this reliance has also led to a decline in soil health, underscoring the need to strike a balance.
This African Fertilizer and Soil Health Summit has come at a critical moment. We as a continent are facing a myriad of challenges linked to unsustainable agriculture, including low agricultural productivity and human malnutrition, which is estimated to be impacting at least 20% of African population. It's my hope that the summits will drive the future of African food systems and catalyze sustainable agricultural productivity and food security in the continent, and I assure you that your contribution to the summit is paramount important.
Fertilizer has to be available, but fertilizer has to be affordable as well. Very important. There is no point making more fertilizer, appropriate fertilizer available if it's not affordable to our farmers, because we will not achieve the intended objective to increase productivity, as well as, if you like, to secure for the most vulnerable food for their family members. There's been a touch already made on the appropriateness of fertilizer. In the past, most of our countries, although we are pushing to increase the quantum of fertilizer we apply, 50 kgs as it were, it is true that we've been applying fertilizer, lesser quantities, yes, but also inappropriate fertilizer.
Central to that as well is that Africa is a growing market. It's now a market of 1.4 billion people. By 2050, a quarter of the world's population will be living here. And therefore, it is important for us to use the assets we have. And among the assets we have is our agricultural potential. It is therefore important in this meeting for us to address fertilizer availability, production of fertilizer using locally available raw materials in our continent, making sure that this fertilizer enhances our agricultural productivity, because therein lies the opportunity for us to live in dignity, because we will have food security, to also create jobs and opportunities for our young people using our value addition agro-processing of agricultural-based raw materials and using it for our industrialization, and using our big market also to make sure that we drive our own progress.
The government has currently invested slightly over 2.9 billion Kenya shillings in promotion of Kenya's fishing industry, from the traditional artisanal fishing to commercial fishing, to help small-scale farmers increase their margins. While addressing the press on Thursday in Nairobi, the Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs Cabinet Secretary Salim Mvurya noted that through the establishment of fish landing zones along fishing zones will help farmers preserve their catch for long, hence controlling their market prices. Here is more on this thing.
In a significant move aimed at revitalizing Kenya's commercial fishing industry, the government has announced a substantial investment of 2.9 billion Kenyan shillings. This strategic allocation, which will see the Indian Ocean getting slightly above 1.4 billion Kenyan shillings and the Lake region getting up to 1.5 billion Kenyan shillings, underscores the administration's commitment to fostering economic growth, enhancing food security and creating employment opportunities within the fisheries sector.
What we want to bring on board is to make sure that we move away from artisanal fishing, traditional fishing, so that fishermen can control the market. For you to control the market and the price, you don't have to sell the same day. You don't have to sell your catch after 1 hour of catch. So that is why we are providing an ice-making machine, a cold room, and a basic center for value addition in the landing site, so that you can decide And we are putting the BMUs now into cooperative societies so that they can have a general command of the price and the market. So I think it is an advantage.
In line with global trends and best practices, a portion of the funds will also be allocated towards the adoption of modern fishing technologies and equipment, which includes the procurement of state-of-the-art fishing vessels and processing machinery. By embracing technological advancements, the Kenyan fishermen will not only boost their productivity and profitability, but also promote sustainable fishing practices that minimize environmental impact. In 2022, the annual fish production in Kenya was 400,000 tons, while the annual demand stood at 600,000 tons. As well as this sizable production deficit, the fish consumption level is only 4 kilograms per capita per year, far below the global average of 20 kilograms, which calls for more efforts in the sector. Hilary Kabila, GBS News.
Do keep your comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. On that note, let's take our very first break. We'll be right back.
Hello everyone! Welcome to Fun Story Class. Friend, today I'm going to read the story of the ant and the grasshopper. Friend, this is a very interesting story, so listen carefully. The ant and grasshopper were good friends. The grasshopper was enjoying the fine weather, playing all day. He asked the ant for food, and ant gave him some. But my food is just enough for my family to last until the end of winter. If I give you more, we too will starve.
What exactly is that when you hear prostate cancer?
So there's an organ called the prostate that is part of the male reproductive system. The organ actually responds to testosterone. Mm-hmm. So the more it is exposed to it, the more it continues to grow. Mm-hmm.
Does the enlargement eventually lead to, and even before that, what is the difference?
When the growth is a lot, there's likely to be errors. Okay, and when there are errors, that's when cancer occurs.
So are you able to tell that there is a change?
You said prostate cancer, one of the symptoms is erectile dysfunction.
Do they continue living their sexual life comfortably?
So prostate cancer is not a death sentence. For majority of people who are caught early, they're able to live life to the fullest.
Are you able to infect your spouse with this?
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back. You're still watching GBS News 9. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has joined the nation in mourning the tragic loss of 62 lives, victims of a recent deluge that left a trail of devastation in its wake. Amidst the tears and heartfelt tributes, leaders from across the country gathered to pay their respects to those who perished, offering a solace to the grieving families and pledging support to survivors. Susan Nganga with the details.
A somber mood engulfed the Mai Mahiu area in Naivasha sub-county as Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua led Kenyans in mourning 62 victims of the recent deluge that left a trail of destruction.
Stand in solidarity with these families and the community of Mai Mahiu and the people of Naivasha and the greater Nakuru County.
Tears flowed at the venue of the funeral service, where photos of those who lost their lives in the tragedy were pinned on a board. Amidst the grief, leaders including governors, senators, members of parliament, and local representatives pay their last respects to the victims.
Sisi kama serikali kuu tumesaidia. Gavana walikuja na MP, tukaongea na rais na tukatoa zaidi ya shilingi milioni 7 ya kusaidia hao familia kwenda kupumzisha wapenzi wao. So every family around here, 150,000, wale wa mbali kidogo 200,000. Kwanza, that is to assist the people.
Nakuru Governor Susan Kihika, alongside other leaders, extended heartfelt condolences.
Wananchi, security starts with us. Pahali unaweza jisaidia, please jisaidie. Kabla serikali ikuje na nguvu yake yote. Na kwa madereva wetu, nataka tu kunena kama imesemwa. Barabara zetu mingi zimeharibika. Na kwa hivyo kabla serikali ikusanye ile mapeni iko nayo kutoka kwa ushuru, tuwe waangalifu na tubebe abiria na mizigo vizuri.
With the death toll standing at 62 and over 30 individuals still missing, families beseech the government to expedite the resettlement process, citing unbearable conditions in temporary camps. President Ruto, during his visit to the affected area, underscored the government's commitment to proactive measures, stating the areas prone to flooding and landslides have been identified and efforts are underway.
Serikali ya Kenya itahakikisha ya kwamba ile mali yote wamepoteza tutawarudishia. Manyumba ambayo imebomoka, serikali ya Kenya itajenga upya. Mambo yao yote ambayo imepotea, tumekata kauli leo katika baraza la mawaziri.
To facilitate timely evacuations, military personnel, in collaboration with police officers, have been deployed to aid in recovery and evacuations operations.
Vile mumeagiza ya kwamba wanajeshi wale wako hapa na NYS and their equipment wasiondoke, na tumekubaliana with the brigadier in charge, wataendelea kukaa hapa wafugue hizo mabarabara zote na kuhakikisha bridges na kila kitu mpaka siku rais mwenyewe atawaambia waondoke, kwa sababu
the catastrophe, which occurred in the early hours of April 29th, was attributed by the Ministry of Water and Sanitation to a blocked railway line tunnel, impeding the natural flow of the river Tongi. The ensuing surge of water, exasperated by the obstruction, inundated homes and infrastructure, devastating the community downstream.
The government has been urged to ensure adequate public participation takes place before licensing a foreign firm to mine gold. The residents of Ramola sublocation in Gem Yala sub-county are calling on the government to ensure adequate public engagement was done before granting a foreign investor gold mining license in the area. According to the residents, there was no openness in regard to the matter, and they were getting raw deal from the representatives they elected to champion their rights, who have chosen to hoard information that would help them get informed decisions. Speaking at Ramula Trading Center, the residents led by Colonel retired Moses Adol say the foreign investor was currently undertaking an economic survey where they were asking targeted individuals that they owned. Colonel Adol said they were afraid that one morning they will find themselves displaced by the miner without any word, adding that their attempts to seek for information has been thwarted on several occasions by the government officials who have been cancelling their request for public baraza to discuss the matter.
And then
I'm Colonel retired Moses Adol. I come from Ramola. I was born in Ramola. I stay in Ramola. The recent events in relation to the Shanta Mining Gold Company has become an issue that make us have sleepless nights. in that they did a feasibility study, which they finished. They went to environmental social impact assessment, which they finished. They went to a relocation action plan, which they completed. Then they went to traffic survey, which they completed, and now they want to launch economic survey. Now, our worry is we had appointed some village reps to interact with the Shanta officials and to let them know that we don't want the activities in Ramola. Unfortunately, they are all bought by Shanta. And all of them are working for Shanta. Any meeting they go is paid for by Shanta. Village reps, the way we know as per the Constitution, is a body that is given salary by the county government, not by an official. So the moment they shifted to be puppets of Shanta, we felt that we have lost the war. We have made efforts to make the Ramula people know what is going on, but it has been shelved severally. Even the village reps have never held a public barasa to tell people of the plans of the Shanta. So we felt that before somebody starts getting funny messages of M-Pesa in their accounts, that will show that now they are being relocated. It is better that we make a lot of noise at this stage in time, so that we all agree that we are not going to move out of Ramola.
Naitwa Francis Omolo. Nimesimamia wanarika kama vijana katika eneo hili la Ramola. Ninataka kuambia watu ya kwamba sisi kama vijana hatuna nafasi na hatutaruhusu kutoroshwa hapa na kampuni ambayo inatoka nchi ya ng'ambo, kwa sababu sisi kama watu wa Ramola tumekuwa tukiishi na amani mahali hapa na tumekuwa tukifanya vitu vyetu na biashara zetu mahali hapa. Kwa hivyo tukihamishwa mahali hapa tupelekwe kwingine, hatutapata nafasi ya kuishi mahali pale kwa amani na kwa utu wema.
Kwa majina, mimi naitwa William Moricho. Mimi ni mzaliwa wa hapa. Mimi ni mzee wa hapa. Kwa saa hii vile ninaongea, sitaki niseme ni kwa nani. Kuna mahali wanakaa wakichukua hizo vitu, wakiita watu, wakitumia simu. Tunasema na tunasema. Nimeonywa na mtu mmoja wao akidai ya kwamba mimi nina insight wananchi. Na ninasema hapa.
A gold mine collapsed at Lumba village in Rarieda sub-county, burying alive an artisanal miner as his 3 colleagues escaped death by a whisker. According to local residents, 19-year-old Kennedy Ouma was in a group of 4 who were prospecting for the mineral when the incident occurred. His colleagues Evans Onyango and Vincent Otieno say they had been underground the whole day, and it was when they were winding up, the shaft's wall started collapsing as they were approximately 50 feet below the surface. The late Ouma's sister, Marcelina Kenyi, called on the government to help them retrieve the body of the deceased. Local residents, led by Frederick Mwango and Frederick Mata, blamed the local mining company for using open blast, which they claimed weakened the rock formation, resulting into the calamity.
Kwa majina naitwa Evans Onyango Ajwala. Jana asubuhi tulienda kazi kama kawaida, na hiyo shimo tumefanya kwa miaka 2, na tulifanya kazi kama vile huwa tunafanya mpaka saa 3, na tulikuwa tunafaa toke saa 4. Fika saa 3 na dakika 20 tulikuwa watu 3. Sasa mmoja wetu mwenye alikuwa chini akafunikwa na mawe na tulishindwa kumwokoa na akakufa hiyo.
Kwa jina langu inaitwa Samson Odhiambo. Hapo tunafanyanga kazi hapo kila siku. Jana tulikuwa tunaenda hapo kufanya kazi. Tuliingia kwa shimo. Tulifanya kazi. Tukafanya kama tulikuwa tunamaliza kazi, tulikuwa tunataka kuvuruta viboi 2 hivi. Na mchanga ikatoka juu na ikaanguka. Ikapata huyo kijana yetu eta Kennedy. Sasa huyo jamaa hiyo mchanga ikafunika na mawe. Tukaenda chini, tukamwangalia, tukampata kama ameaga. Tukaanza kumtoa, mawe iligonga, ilifunika kwa mguu. Sasa haikuwa inaweza kutoka. Sasa tractor ndio inaweza kumtoa, lakini baada ya kuchini, kama ninaangalia baada ya kuchini.
As Kenya is finalizing on its tail-end procedures before rolling out the digital identity card, also known as Maisha Card, the Immigration and E-Citizen Services Principal Secretary Julius Bitok has noted that cross-border transaction, which is one of the benefits of the digital ID, will reduce the cost of doing business between the countries. According to the Principal Secretary, the government is banking on the new digital identity card and its supporting ecosystem to provide a registration regime that is more secure from forgery and identity theft. Here are the details.
The Immigration and Citizen Services Principal Secretary Julius Bitok has today revealed that the government will conclude the issuance of Maisha cards in the next 2 years. According to PS Bitok, the government is halfway through the process and exuded confidence that the rollout will run smoothly as planned.
Having a very secure digital ID is so critical to every country. It's so critical to Kenya, it's so critical to every country. And I want to assure the country that we have a very robust system that is helping us manage this digital infrastructure. And we are working very closely with the Ministry of ICT, the National Treasury, to ensure that this system is safe and it is part of the critical infrastructure that is needed to be able to provide these services as required.
Due to its interoperability, PS Bitok knows that the rollout of the Maisha Digital ID will ease cross-border transactions, which will in turn ease the cost of doing business between Kenya and other countries.
You can be, for example, in Uganda, and you want to enjoy some service in Kenya. You want to pay for some service in Kenya. It is very important to know that the opportunities created by digital ID and the entire digitization is critical to ensuring that we reduce the costs of, you no longer need to travel to Uganda to enjoy some services. You can be able to pay somebody in Uganda using M-Pesa. You can be able to transact this way using M-Pesa. And this provides a good opportunity for African countries, which for a long time have had a challenge in terms of the cost of doing business across borders. There are many barriers created by borders, but African nations now have an opportunity to be able to work more closely together to ensure that we leverage on technology to ensure that our citizens across the borders are able to enjoy these services.
While digitalizing citizens' personal information can enhance efficiency and service delivery, it must be done to uphold fairness and legality. From the perspective of the right to information in the Kenyan context, ensuring transparency, obtaining informed consent, implementing robust security measures, adhering to purpose limitations, and establishing accountability mechanisms are essential. Hilary Kabila, GBS News.
Many thanks for joining this live broadcast. We have a lot lined up for you in our news segment tonight, but first let us take a quick commercial break.
So through the 4 gospel books, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, John, we can know the heart of Jesus in depth.
그리고 우리가 느끼는 그 예수님을 성경을 통해 느낄 수 있어서 너무 감사합니다.
And the Jesus that we can feel him through the scriptures, and I'm very thankful about that. Jesus Christ came to this earth for our
죄를
sins.
지셨고,
He carried our sins.
십자가에 못 박혀 죽어 죄의 형벌을 당하셨고,
and he was crucified, and he received the punishment for sins.
무덤에 들어가셨다가,
and he was put into the tomb.
사흘 만에 부활하셨습니다.
and resurrected in 3 days.
이것이 우리가 말하는 복음입니다.
This is the gospel that we speak.
예수님께 우리 죄를 위해 죽으신 이야기.
About how Jesus died for our sins. The purpose of Jesus being crucified.
우리 죄를 담당하기 위하여 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으셨습니다.
He was crucified to pay for our sins.
예수 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으심으로 우리 죄가 분명히 씻어졌는데.
And through Jesus being crucified, clearly our sins have been washed clean.
참 안타깝게도 많은 사람은 여전히 죄인이라고 말합니다.
However, unfortunately, many people still say that they are sinners.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back to the broadcast. President William Ruto has called for a strong commitment from all parties in the South Sudan peace process to achieve lasting and sustainable peace. The president said the mediation process is keen on ending conflict and political instability in South Sudan. He said the Tumaini initiative, a high-level mediation for South Sudan, has brought together 8 categories of parties and groups, ensuring the process is inclusive and homegrown. Ruto spoke during the launch of the high-level mediation for South Sudan at State House, Nairobi. Present were President Salva Kiir Mayardit of South Sudan, Lazarus Chakwera of Malawi, Hakainde Hichilema of Zambia, Nangolo Mbumba of Namibia, and Faustin of Central African Republic, the African Union Commission Chairperson Moussa Faki, among others. The president lauded the progress made by the revitalized transitional government of the National Unity and Realism and the South Sudan United Front in the mediation process. President Hichilema encouraged the participants in the peace process to be accommodating and engage in genuine negotiations with a spirit to give and take.
Region and with the international community, with the representatives of Troika and the others. For us, I think it's extremely important that the mediators, that this initiative is not trying to reinvent the wheel. We do have a framework in place, and it's important that that framework remains the starting point.
President Ruto, congratulations for hosting this important process, but also to President Salva Kiir for allowing this process to take place. Some colleagues would probably resist it, that this process does not continue. I have no special message to give President Ruto other than to encourage the participants to this process, to encourage participants to come to the table in a genuine manner, in a well-meaning manner, and also to have within them a high level of tolerance. Irritations will always be there in a process like this. But it's important to be accommodative, to understand that there is no option to a peace process.
I would like to thank my brother, His Excellency President William Ruto, for accepting the role of resolving the South Sudan conflict through a mediation effort led by Kenya. The Nairobi peace process, led by Kenya, helped negotiate the comprehensive peace agreement which ended Africa's longest conflict. That peace led to the independence of the Republic of South Sudan at the end of the interim period in 2011. I am confident that these efforts will yield a similar result.
I encourage the revitalized transition government of national unity, the real SPLM, and the South Sudanese United Front to stay the course and redouble their commitment to this mediation. The path you have chosen is noble, and what you have accomplished so far under this initiative is admirable. Here is your opportunity to design a future worthy of all of you and all the visions you have.
Shortly,
There has been a growing concern development out of Kenya, where the country is grappling with a surge in cholera cases amid a flooding crisis in Tana River County. Flooding in Kenya's Tana River County has intensified the threat of cholera, with reports of 44 confirmed cases, raising fears about the spread of waterborne diseases. Here are the details.
Flooding in Kenya's Tana River County has escalated the threat of cholera, with 44 reported cases highlighting concerns about the spread of waterborne diseases. The World Health Organization, WHO, in a statement on Tuesday, emphasizes the collaborative efforts between Kenya's authorities, WHO, and other agencies to monitor and respond to health issues exacerbated by the floods nationwide. Pius Mutuku, a medical epidemiologist, confirmed the impact of the floods has caused the closure of 14 health facilities and a shortage of major water treatment plants, leading to 3,000 people. Kenya's Health Principal Secretary, Mary Muthoni, issued a stark warning about the looming crisis posed by waterborne diseases if not addressed promptly. Alongside health officials, she distributed water purification supplies in Nairobi, emphasizing the dual threat of contaminated water sources and foodborne illnesses exacerbated by the floods. WHO reaffirmed its commitment to supporting the government's agency's response efforts, understanding the importance of swift containment to prevent the escalation of these disease outbreaks, and to bolster these efforts, the WHO has procured cholera, interagency, and pneumonia kits for distributing to key counties with the capacity to treat approximately 10,000 individuals.
The World Health Organization, WHO, stated it was actively responding to the multiple health emergencies across the globe through a recent press briefing held by its Director General, Tedros Adhanom, who shared some alarming updates regarding the crisis in Gaza, Sudan, and the United States. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Lavina Shamdasani, expressed deep concerns over the escalating crackdown on journalists in Russia. Delivering a stark message in Geneva on Tuesday, he went on to underscore the severity of the situation, highlighting the alarming rise in imprisoned journalists since the invasion of Ukraine on February 24, 2022.
The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, is concerned by the increasing number of journalists charged, convicted, and jailed in Russia for their independent reporting in what appears to be an intensification of a crackdown on dissenting voices. The continuous attacks on free speech and the criminalization of independent journalism in Russia is very troubling. Crackdown on journalists' independent work must immediately cease, and the right to inform, which is a key component of the right to freedom of expression, needs to be upheld. At least 30 journalists are currently detained in Russia under a variety of criminal charges, and these include charges ranging from terrorism, extremism, disseminating knowingly false information about the armed forces, spying, treason, extortion, infringing upon people's rights, violating the provisions of the law on foreign agents, inciting mass disturbances, illegal possession of explosives, and illegal possession of drugs. Out of the 30 reporters deprived of their liberty, 12 are serving prison sentences ranging from 5.5 to 22 years in prison. The Russian authorities appear to be attempting to further strengthen control of the narrative, both around domestic issues and around the conduct of hostilities in Ukraine. As a result, people in Russia have increasingly restricted access to non-state information and viewpoints, which hampers their ability to benefit from diverse sources and to make fully informed decisions on matters of vital public interest. Journalists should be able to work in a safe environment without fear of reprisals. We call on the authorities to immediately drop charges against journalists who have been detained solely for doing their jobs and to release them.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and his counterpart from Sierra Leone, Timothy Kaba, recently met in Moscow to bolster bilateral ties between their countries. The meeting between Lavrov and Kaba focused on enhancing cooperation and friendship between Russia and Sierra Leone, through Kaba taking the opportunity to extend his congratulations to Russian President Vladimir Putin on his re-election victory and subsequent inauguration. Lavrov described Sierra Leone as a long-standing and dependable partner for Russia in Africa, announcing plans to broaden diplomatic engagement by establishing new missions across the African continent, through Freetown being a priority for this year.
Today I'm very pleased to be here to help deepen and strengthen cooperation between our countries. And I'd like to congratulate President Vladimir Putin on his confident victory and his inauguration today, and I wish him and all the Russian people further prosperity. Lavrov underscored Sierra Leone's status as Russia's steadfast partner in Africa, emphasizing the significance of strengthening ties through enhanced diplomatic engagement on the African continent, including Freetown. In Freetown, we expect to do this before the end of this year. All the necessary decisions have been made. It is necessary to implement them, which is a practical task, and we're working on it.
Do keep your comments coming in through our SMS line 21144 and GBS TV Africa on all our social media handles. That international news brings us to our sports news. Let's get sporty. With Real Madrid on the verge of a Champions League exit, they needed to find a hero, and they got an unlikely one, with Joselu sending them to the final. Real Madrid snatched an incredible semi-final victory as the two late goals from Joselu defeated Bayern Munich at the set-up Champions League final with the Borussia Dortmund on 1st June. Here are the details.
The second leg game was played in a fantastic atmosphere at the Santiago Bernabeu. The hosts almost scored early on, only for Emmanuel Neuer to make an excellent double save, pushing Vinicius Junior's effort against the post and then stopping Rodrigo's follow-up effort. Vinicius Junior was a constant threat for Real Madrid down the left, but again saw Neuer twice make excellent saves. Bayern Munich took the lead in the 68th minute. Harry Kane spread a superb pass to Davis on the left flank, and the Canadian cut inside on to his right foot and unleashed an unstoppable strike for what looked to be the winner goal. Joselu pounced on a rare error from the usually outstanding Bayern goalkeeper Manuel Neuer after he fumbled Vinicius Junior's effort to make it level in the 88th minute. Joselu scored again 3 minutes later as he did well to steer in a volley from Antonio Rudiger's square pass in the first minute of additional time. Joselu's second was originally ruled out for offside, only for a video assistant referee VAR check to show the Spain international as onside. With Bayern trailing 2-1 in the 13th minute of stoppage time, Mathis de Ligt thought he had equalized, but an assistant referee, Thomas Lidstwick, had already raised his flag for offside. Real defenders stopped before de Ligt fired into the net, and television replay shows the original decision may not have been offside and would have needed to be checked by VAR. Because play had been stopped, VAR was unable to intervene. Real Madrid boss Carlo Ancelotti has reached his 6th Champions League final as a manager. Real Madrid play Borussia Dortmund in the final at Wembley on 1st June. Reporting for GBS TV, I am John Kinyanjui.
Seven-seed Russian Andrei Rublev overcame illness and losing the first set to beat world number 35, Canada's Felix Auger, 4-6 and 5-7 for his first Madrid Open title. In the women's tennis, world number 1 Poland's Iga Swiatek saved 3 championship points to beat world number 2 Belarusian Aria 7-5, 4-6 and 7-6 and win her first Madrid Open title. Here are the details.
Andrei Rublev rallied to defeat Felix Auger-Aliassime in 3 sets and win the Madrid Open for the first time. The Russian world number 8 was under the weather with a fever coming into the final and looked out of sorts when he trailed 4-1 in the opening sets. But Rublev fought his way back into the match, striking at the end of both sets to get past the world number 35 and win his second Masters 1000 tournament. It was the 16th ATP title for Rublev and second of 2024 and at the Masters 1000 level. He battled past second seed Carlos Alcaraz in 3 sets in the quarter-final before his straight set win over Fritz in the semi-final. In the women's tennis, a rematch of the 2023 final, the first meeting of the top 2 players in the world this season battled for more than 3 hours, the longest WTA final so far in 2024. The two pushed one another to the brink and featured some extraordinary power, brilliant shot making, and superb defense. Iga Swiatek had a breakdown early in the 3rd set but held her nerve down the stretch to gain revenge for defeat by Sabalenka in last year's final. Swiatek dug deep to save 2 match points in the 13th game of the 3rd set to stay in the match and then saved another in the tiebreaker on her way to victory. Swiatek had won 6 of her previous 9 matches against Sabalenka. It is the 22-year-old 20th career title and denies Sabalenka a 3rd crown in the Spanish capital. She is the youngest WTA player to achieve the milestone and the first female player born in this millennium to do so. Swiatek has now won 9 1000 level titles. Reporting for GBS TV, I am John Kinyanjui.
And that sports news brings us to the end of our news segment tonight. Many thanks for joining the broadcast. And as always, here at GBS News at 9, we make your news our business. My name is Beatrice Njeri. Our sign language interpreter is Paul Mathenge. Good night.